Hi, we're here today. We are going to be demonstrating how to make simple herbal teas, infusions, and decoctions. These are all simple things you can do with the plants that you grow or plant material that you've bought. So here I have some lemon balm, I have some white horehound, some other things around. So I'm just going to demonstrate. You can use any sort of pot. What you're going to do is boil water in whatever sort of pot or boiler that you use, and then it can be another pot. This is a coffee pot right here, a teapot, whatever. So you would just chop up the material, like if I wanted to make a tea, chop it up, and then I would pour my boiled water over it, close the lid.
And we chop it up to increase the surface area for better extraction.
Right. Pour the boiled water, close the lid, and let that steep for 5 minutes or so for a simple tea. And then sweeten if you like to sweeten it, and we just pour ours through a little strainer that we put over a teapot. But over your mug. But there's all different types of teapots that have the strainer built in that are nice that you can also use.
And so that's a tea where she said just steep it for about 5 minutes. Most of you are familiar with that. That only extracts the volatile oil components mainly out of it. You don't want to use too hot of water or it eviscerates them, denatures them, they evaporate really fast, which is why the people in Britain have tea down to a fine science and how hot the water has to be, etc., etc. But so to go now further in depth, the next step from a simple tea is an infusion. Smile.
So in an infusion, you want to really pack the plant material in there. So you would just, if I didn't add more, I would just basically pour the water up to the level of my herbs. I would not fill it up to here like I would with a tea.
I'm going to make it really strong.
Or I could add more plant material and then just pack your plant material down, cover it with the boiled water, and then put your lid back on it and let that steep. Usually we let it steep until it's cool. You could let it steep even longer if you like.
Usually 8 hours. 8 hours, or some people even steep for infusions up to 2 days. When you're doing it that long, you have to make sure you're refrigerating it and it's not fermenting. But an infusion, let it sit 6 to 8 hours, or you can make it at night, let it steep overnight, infuse overnight, and then in the morning you can strain it off and you have all of that tea that you can then, whether it takes you that day, a couple days, or the week, you can pour that off and keep it in your fridge.
So you could keep adding plant material and keep packing it down before you've added the water, and just whatever herbs you are for your purpose that you need the infusion for, you just put in there, and like I said, just cover it with boiled water up to about here. So very simple.
And then the next step beyond the tea infusion is a decoction. So a decoction we want to do on the stove, on a burner, a heat source. And again, usually decoctions are done with roots, with barks, with woody material. You chop that up same way, and make sure you chop your roots and barks when they're harvested, because they become like herbal steel the longer they dry. And then you boil those. You bring those to a boil. You can do this simple covering thing, and more scientifically, we weigh things out grams to milliliters. But for our purposes today, cover the ground up or chopped up roots or bark with water, bring it to a boil, allow that to boil for usually at least 20 to 30 minutes. Let it come off of the boil, and then we let that sit for about 8 hours or overnight and steep. And then come back to that same way through a strainer or through cheesecloth, drain that out, and you have this decoction, which then you can either preserve by adding sufficient alcohol to bring the alcohol content up to 20-25%, or you can just keep it in the fridge and use it throughout the week. So that's some simple ways for you to use your plants, teas, infusions.